Hi guys, welcome back to the CharlieW YouTube channel. Now, we kicked off the channel last week with a watch-along for the Chelsea-Manchester United game, and let's say that wasn't an exciting, sceptical. It didn't really live up to anticipation, so we put the watch-alongs on the back burner because we've kind of been scarred from such a boring game that was, a 0-0 stale encounter. But we are back today for an exciting one. We are going to be running a little mini series on this channel, starting off with the goalkeepers today, looking at what goalkeepers, what defenders, midfielders and attackers will be in Gareth Southgate's England squad for the upcoming Euros. Now, I cannot wait for the European Championships. It seems like so long ago, that World Cup tournament, and hopefully we can kick on and do quite well in this tournament. I mean, why not? You got to back the boys. But like I say, make sure you hit subscribe because we're starting off with the goalkeepers today. I'll be looking at the defenders, the midfielders, and of course the attackers that I think that Gareth Southgate will put in that 23-man England squad. I also put on my opinion mixed in with that as who I think should be put in there, but we'll be mainly looking at who I think Gareth Southgate will put in that England squad. Now, let's kick it off. Let's get straight into it. No messing about. The three goalkeepers that I think Gareth Southgate will put in that squad, they pretty much pick themselves. And I think it's quite apparent which three it will be for England. Now, it's quite clear. Jordan Pickford is England's number one. He has been for a long time now. 26-year-old. He's very established in the Premier League. Over 100 Premier League appearances. And he's over 24 England caps now. Full England caps. He's been ever present in that England side and in the World Cup as well. He's one of three. I think the other two, it's quite apparent. Nick Pope and Dean Henderson. They are the three that I think Gareth Southgate will put in that England squad. Now, yes, there's a couple others that could arguably get in there. Sam Johnson for West Brom's had a very good season. And Darrow for Newcastle. They're two that maybe could kick on. You got the others like Fraser Forster, Alex McCarthy, maybe even Ben Foster. But I think there's kind of a gap between that top three and kind of the other names that are kind of in and around that mix. Now, let's kick it off. Jordan Pickford. We know the attributes of Jordan Pickford. His distribution is absolutely fantastic. His confidence that he has on the ball is phenomenal. His distribution to play out from the back, which is going to be a key element in his skill set that's going to really liken himself to the way that Gareth Southgate is going to want to play football with this England side. Now, he's someone that copes very well under pressure. His sort of range of passing and sort of the extent that he can get down the pitch in terms of his length of distribution is phenomenal. He's strong on either foot. Like I say, he's confident at receiving balls in and around that 6-yard box and of course the 18-yard box as well. He's someone that just oozes composure on the ball. And like we all know, his distribution is fantastic. Pinpoint accuracy with his passing. And that is something that, like I've said, is crucial for a Gareth Southgate side. Now, when I'm looking at the other two options, of course, Nick Pope, someone that has a completely differing skill set. And as to why a lot of people, myself included, I'm going to throw it straight out there, think that Nick Pope should arguably be England's number one. But his skill set is very different to Jordan Pickford, who is, of course, sort of current England number one is what we'd expect and what we've seen in the past England squads. Nick Pope is more of a throwback keeper, and Jordan Pickford is just sort of modern keeper that's this 21st century of football where, teams have got to be expansive and play out from the back. And a Gareth Southgate side epitomises that. And that's why Jordan Pickford's skill set plays right into the hands of Gareth Southgate. Now, we all know Jordan Pickford has had quite an erratic season, and as well last season his form has been very up and down. Yeah, he's kind of recuperated that. He's gone on a bit of an upwards curve over the last couple of games and sort of last weeks, but he still lets mistakes creep in, and that's something that kind of does put an asterisk next to his name, at least for me, coming into that England side. Now, like I've touched upon how fantastic his distribution is, Jordan Pickford has some faults as well, which of course every football player does. But for me, he's just not the best shot stopper, and we know he's prone to some mistakes in between the sticks. But a kind of a fundamental reason for Jordan Pickford, in what I feel, as to why he makes these mistakes, but not always mistakes. But he doesn't save shots that at least I think he should. Now, there's a bit of a running joke about his height, his little arms, and what have you, but He is an explosive goalkeeper. You know, he's quality. He is quality. But this is my problem with Jordan Pickford. Now, for goalkeepers, footwork is instrumental. Like, I think it sometimes goes without saying as to when you actually analyse what it takes to make a top level save in terms of a shot that's, you know, hit towards goal, a lot of power in a decent area that a goalkeeper will struggle to save. It's not so much their reactions, it's not so much their reach, but it's how well their footwork is placed and that facilitates them to have the chance to even make the save. Now, I'm going to run you a clip and we can just analyse this a little bit more. This is a prime example. For me, this is a shot that Jordan Pickford should save. Now, if you roll that back, just watch how much his feet move around, how unplanted he is. He should plant his feet there, but no, he continues to move around. And if you watch, when that shot's taken, his feet are off the ground, meaning that he can't propel himself and he can't get his hand to the ball. Now, as you can see, Jordan Pickford's footwork is not that good. His timing, his movement and his foot placement is a little erratic. Now, by him not kind of being stable and setting himself, he doesn't allow himself, when the shot is taken, to fully push off and sort of maximise the power and the reach. Now, especially with Jordan Pickford, his reach and his arm span is not the greatest. So he needs to kind of make up for that and always have those feet planted at the exact point as to when the shot is going to be taken. Now, him moving around and not being set means that when he needs to sort of pounce, he's not able to because his feet aren't planted and he's kind of delayed. He has to make that reaction later than he needs to. He's not in the right position and he's prone to not reaching the ball. And that's why we've seen sometimes him not really being able to get on the end of shots. But it's something that I know he's been working on. And like I say, footwork is such a massive thing for goalkeepers. Now, this is where you kind of get this juxtaposition between the kind of set of England goalkeepers. And you've got Nick Pope that kind of is very contradictory in his skill set. His distribution is nothing like Jordan Pickford. We'll just get that straight. He doesn't have that extensive range of passing. We've seen mistakes from him when he's been receiving the ball in and around the 6-yard box. There's been a couple of mistakes where he's never given goals away. And he just doesn't have that confidence. But that's down testament to the side he's playing in. Everton, you know, Ancelotti is the Everton manager. They're going to want to play that way. And again, he sort of plays into the hands of Ancelotti and Gareth Southgate. But Nick Pope plays into the hands of Sean Dyche. He's never needed to play that expansive football. All he's needed to do is boot the ball up to Chris Wood, get it out of the area, and stop shots. And that is what Nick Pope does so well. So let's move on to Nick Pope. Now, for Nick Pope, it's one that divides opinion. And of course, football is all about opinions. Nick Pope is more of a throwback goalkeeper, like I touched upon. He's experienced. He plays in one way. And that's the thing. It's not the way England play. But at the end of the day, a goalkeeper needs to be a shot stopper. And that is what Nick Pope excels upon in all departments when it comes to that area. Simply, he's better than Jordan Pickford at shot stopping. He has much better reach. His reach is fantastic. And if we kind of contrast Jordan Pickford's kind of poor footwork, at least in my opinion of what I've seen and analysed of Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope excels in this area. His feet are always planted. He reads play a little bit better. He knows when to kind of get in position and he gets into position early. He's always ready to push off, reach the corners, both upper and lower. He's always set. He's ready. And like I say, he's more prone and more reliable as a shot stopper. Jordan Pickford, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with Jordan Pickford. He can pull off an exceptional save, but then sometimes he can make a sort of an easier, tamer shot look much more difficult. But yeah, it is a tough one. And this is what you kind of got to play into. Now, on paper, Nick Pope, like I've said, is the better shot stopper. He's second highest. He's faced the second highest amount of shots inside the box this season at 65, and he's still ranking up there with the most clean sheets in the league, playing in a struggling Burnley side, as we know this season. Not really hit the heights that they kind of have done in the last few years. But it's Burnley, that's what you sort of expect, kind of the resources and the funds they have available. But he's been sort of an ever-present, sort of glowing light in that Burnley side. But this is the problem. He's a very good Premier League goalkeeper in that Burnley side. But how will he do in the England setup that wants to play in a completely different way? And this is what you kind of got to ask yourself. Now, if you look from a neutral perspective, who would you go for? Now, for me, I'd go Nick Pope. But then you got to kind of think about it and how is he going to do in that England setup? Now, he's just had 4 senior appearances for England. Albeit he's kept clean sheets in all of those, but he's come up against Kosovo, Costa Rica, I think Ireland and Wales in the 4 games that he's played. And then, you can't really take too much from that. Yes, that experience of being in the England setup and even just having 4 games in a completely contradictory style of play is going to be fundamental for Nick Pope. And if he is going to have any chance of getting in that starting lineup for England, but I can guarantee he will be on the plane. And it is going to be such a big call for Gareth Southgate. Does he go with the man that's had a lot more experience for England? Or does he go for the man that kind of, on paper, is the better shot stopper and is the better goalkeeper in the sticks? Then you've got Jordan Pickford that is a lot better at kind of adding to play. And this is something that I've been thinking about quite a lot. Jordan Pickford can kind of fully be utilised when we play against sides that are going to bring the game to England. Now, if we're coming up against sides like, for example, Spain or someone that really wants to dominate the ball, that would allow England to capitalise and catch teams on the counter, then Jordan Pickford kind of picks himself. But when England sort of are a team like Spain now, with the Gareth Southgate style of play, we want to dictate play. We want to dominate games from start to finish in terms of possession. Now, what that means is that it will force teams to sit back. And when teams sit back, Jordan Pickford's distribution, his fast counter-attacking build-up that he allows because his direct pinpointing, long, expansive distribution is not going to be utilised. That's only utilised when teams come at England, to bring the game to us, maybe play a higher line and allow us to exploit that. But I don't think teams will. A lot of teams will sit back and let England do what they do because we don't always convert that possession into clear-cut chances. And that's why I think if you're picking Jordan Pickford for England because, like I say, of this fantastic footwork, this fantastic distribution, then it may not be able to be utilised and capitalised on because of the way we play and the way the other opposition will set up. It's like I say, it's going to divide opinion. I think Gareth Southgate will go for Jordan Pickford. His experience at this level, and thing is with Jordan Pickford, yes, his form is very erratic for Everton in the Premier League, but he's always done it when he's played for England. Now let's just cast ourselves back. The World Cup, Jordan Pickford was phenomenal. The penalty shootout against Colombia, he was fantastic. He was phenomenal. And that's kind of, what viewpoint do you have? And that's interesting because it's going to be down to Gareth Southgate. Does he look purely, because there hasn't been that many international games of late, because obviously the season's been cramped with obviously the whole COVID situation. There hasn't been many international breaks. We haven't really got to see many sort of international games and how they perform on that stage in that style of play. We've only been able to judge it on club football. Now, does Gareth Southgate fully judge what keeper he wants to start for the European Championships on club football? Now, if you look at club football, Nick Pope has been more consistent. He's more reliable. But Jordan Pickford isn't. He isn't. He's erratic. He's more prone to mistakes. But then, does he judge it on England experience and how well they've done it on that platform? Then you've got to pick Jordan Pickford. And that's something we won't know. Only Gareth Southgate will know what he's going to use to determine what goalkeeper he goes for the European Championships. Like I say, is it going to be a balance of club football and international experience and what they've done for England? Is it going to be just off current form? Is it going to be what they've just solely done for England in the past? That we can only guess. And then we'll kind of move on to the third goalkeeper that even has a chance in the mix himself. The 23-year-old Dean Henderson. Fantastic season with Sheffield United on loan last year. Really stand out. It was phenomenal. And a reason why, of course, Manchester United did not loan him out again. It's been kind of an interesting season for him. Only four appearances, but of late of this now, he's going to get a run in that Manchester United side. David De Gea has been rested, and we're going to really get to see what Dean Henderson can do on a much higher platform. Now, of course, last season with Sheffield United, he faced a lot of shots, and he came out well on that. I think he had, was it 9 less goals on OXG of the expected goals that he should have conceded. He conceded 9 fewer than expected in terms of statistics, but he's very promising. He possesses a lot of promise, and he's got a lot of potential. And I think long term he will be England's #1 goalkeeper. But it's going to be interesting to see how Gareth Southgate embeds him in that England side. Now, for me, he's on the plane without a doubt, and I really do think I do think Gareth Southgate will pick him, and that is my opinion as well. I would pick Dean Henderson. If you look at his England experience, he's played for England in the under-16s, the under-17s, the under-20s, the under-21s. He's got experience for England, but he doesn't have much experience for the England senior side. He's got one cap. And like I say, he's going to be seen as the long-term predecessor for either Jordan Pickford or Nick Pope. Even though Jordan Pickford is only 26 and Nick Pope is only 27, he will be the man going forward for them. Now, quite a topical one at the moment is Dean Henderson in this Manchester United side. He's finally been given a chance to kind of flourish at Old Trafford under much more pressure. At Sheffield United last year, he didn't really have that pressure on him. But Manchester United, he will get that. And it's kind of how he copes under that. And if he can kind of really flourish coming towards the tail end of the season, then he does have a chance as an outsider to get into that starting lineup for England. I do think it's a possibility, but it's not likely. Now, I was watching the football on the weekend. I think it was Leeds or West Ham, and Carragher was talking about how if he's actually able to get himself in that starting lineup and kind of build towards the end of the season and establish himself as Manchester United's #1, then he picks himself as England's #1. Now, this is something that I don't agree with. I don't agree with it. And I do actually think that Gareth Southgate kind of has feelings along those lines. Now, if you cast yourself back a couple of years ago, the fantastic talent that is Jack Grealish, he was playing in the Aston Villa side in the Championship. And I always remember Gareth Southgate coming out and saying, if you want to be in the England squad, you have to be playing in the Premier League. Now, this is something this is a different sort of topic, but we'll take a quick adjacent sort of tangent on it. I don't agree with this. I do not agree with it. You should be in that England side, not on merit for what team you play for in the Premier League. You should be on there on form, ability, capability, and what you bring to the side. If Jack Grealish is absolutely tearing up the Championship, this is like he was doing a couple of years ago in the Championship, getting goals, getting assists, flourishing with confidence, then just because he hasn't got that move to the Premier League yet, doesn't mean he's not fit to play for England. What's the difference between someone doing really well, in a poor Premier League side at the bottom of the table compared to someone doing really well at the bottom of the Championship? And this is what is kind of the problem, going back to the point with Dean Henderson. Just because he's managed to get a run in the Manchester United side and maybe established himself as the Manchester United #1 for 10 games or so, does not mean that he should be England's #1. And this is something that I feel like Gareth Southgate could actually get caught up in, because he has this ideology that what club you play for kind of determines, your sort of career, your ability, and, what merit you deserve inside of the England squad. Yeah, okay, that may be something he may move away from, and that was something that we'll see later down the line. But there's something that I just think is completely wrong, in my opinion. It should be based upon your form, your performances, and like I say, what you bring to the side, not what club you play for. But that's kind of an adjacent note and something that we can discuss later down the line. Well, I think we need to have a chat as well. Is Gareth Southgate the right man for England? Again, this is touching upon another completely different topic. We'll get onto this in a later video, but like I say, I think that will be the 3 that are on the plane for England. In fact, I'm pretty sure of that. Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope, and Dean Henderson. Like I say, there's a couple other contenders, but I just think with sort of the caps they've already had, those 3 have had, albeit Dean Henderson 1 and Nick Pope 5, and they have had experience. Dean Henderson has experience England, in the lesser ranks and in the younger age groups. They have had experience at that level, and I think Dean Henderson, you could see, this is the difference. You could drop Dean Henderson and take, say, a Darrow or a Sam Johnson, because they may be performing better this season. They may have had more games in the Premier League, a bit more experience. But Do you see Darrow and Johnson as a long-term predecessor and as the long-term England goalkeeper? I don't. But Dean Henderson, I do. And now, this is why you want to get in that vital experience, even be it as a number 3 for England. Even as the number 3. Get him in that stage. Get him in and around the squad. Get him kind of, involved with the culture and the philosophy that Gareth Southgate wants to employ. And get him that experience at that level and kind of take him to the tournament. And even if he doesn't play, it will still be vital experience of being at that European Championship, and something that, it doesn't compare to sort of the European Championships, the under-21s, the under-20s. So for Dean Henderson, just being at the Euros will be massive. And yeah, like I say, you could put a Darlow or a Johnson in there, and probably they're not going to play anyway. So why not take the young man that getting them experience even off the pitch, and seeing how players deal with the pressure, being around the squad, kind of gelling with some of the younger players already in the squad that he may play with later down the line. So yeah, I think it will be Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson and Nick Pope. For me, I would go Nick Pope. It's going to be a tough one. Who do you guys think? Get in the comments. Who do you think will start the first game for England in the European Championships? Now, of course, it will kind of... There's still time yet. Dean Henderson, like we say, could make a surge and kind of really up the performances coming towards the end of the season. Jordan Pickford could kind of string some really good form together. Nick Pope could kind of carry on what he's doing. And it could come down to testament to how all the players end the Premier League campaign. But for me, I think Gareth Southgate will go for Jordan Pickford. He'll go for what he knows. He'll go for someone that's had a lot more experience at the highest level. He's had experience at the last World Cup. And he's performed really well for England. And I think that is what kind of Jordan Pickford will always have as that sort of competitive advantage on all the other goalkeepers, is that he's done it at the last large competition. He's dealt with the pressure. When the pressure's got the most for England at that penalty shootout in the World Cup, he flourished. He flourished with flying colours. And that's something that, like I say, will get him over that line. I think he will start for England. Like I say, if it was me, I'd go for Nick Pope, because I think we need an established shot stopper that's less prone to mistakes, more experienced. But for Gareth Southgate, it's all about that expansive football, and that is why he will pick Jordan Pickford as his number 1 for England. That's going to be a wrap for me, sort of assessing goalkeeping options for England. We'll move on, talk about defenders, midfielders and attackers. If you've enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.